but with the proviso that we have to remember that the witness's testimony has been that it's been only recently. And
well, I don't know when it was, because he simply said that he realized that he was entitled legally to some of these proceeds once the inquiry got underway. I think that's all he said. I didn't say when, and I don't know when.
Well, perhaps Mr. Lax could ask that question then, because fairness to the witness really requires it in my submission.
All right. Well, I think Mr. Lax may do that.
I thought I heard you say, Mr. McCallion, you realized that your entitlement, about a month ago. That's
yes.
And my question was that in the month since then, have you written to the Commission to indicate that the circumstances set out in your affidavit regarding need had changed?
No, I did not.
I wonder if you could now please turn, and this may be an exhibit, or part of it may be an exhibit, to which I apologize, to COM 001, 002, 0095, and 96. These are summaries, Mr. McCallion, of monies that were received by the company, Landplex, and the sources of the receipt of the money. I'd like you to help me a little bit with who the people are. John DePoche, we know, was an investor. Was he an investor right from the beginning of Mr. DeCecco's arrival, or did he come in subsequently?
I do not know that.
And do you know that he was an investor?
No, I did not.
Right. And we're going to come back to the meetings that he attends with your mother in her office. Did you have any idea of whether or not those meetings had anything to do?
If I'm sorry, Mr. Lax, I don't know if you saw, Your Honor. I'm going to speak to this issue if I may. Sorry. Oh, I'm doing the wrong thing here to object. My first objection. Your Honor, this document my client gave to Commission Counsel, and we had understood that there would be some discussion about some of the names on this document and the propriety of having those names disclosed before it would be made an exhibit. So forgive me if I've missed this on the exhibit list and not raised this issue sooner. So that's my mea culpa there, Your Honor. But in any event, I would ask you why this is an interest that's engaged by the city of Mississauga. It wasn't something that your Commission Counsel was interested in from this witness, and I don't see why Mr. Lax's client would be concerned about this aspect of the case.
Well, I don't know either. I've seen this for the first time moments ago. What I understand it is that it's a document presumably obtained from Mr. DeCecco. Because it
by Mr. Mississauga for the purposes of the inquiry to assist Commission Counsel.
All right.
Well, a couple of things. That is true. A couple of things. I didn't know that this document had made its way out of the exhibit list. But having said that, there has been evidence about Mr. DePoche's investment, for example.
There has.
Without objection. And the documents which have been produced relatively recently, within the last 10 days or so by WCD, we have imported to court book on notice to the parties because we got them, frankly, quite late in the day. So I don't.
Mr. McDowell, this one you've had from the outset. Ms. Rollins, could you speak up, please? I'm so sorry. And I just want to respond to Mr. McDowell if I can. This document is one of the very first documents my client gave to the inquiry long before it ever had standing or applied for standing. My very first meeting with Mr. McDowell, we produced this and many other documents on the condition that there would be a discussion about to what extent it would be redacted. So I didn't know, Your Honor, that this was going to be on the exhibit list today. I'm not sure whether that's my mistake or not, although it appears your counsel was also mistaken. And it raises some significant
concerns. Was it agreed, Ms. Rothstein, that there would be discussion about this document if it was going to be tendered, and that there might be some redactions?
Correct.
And have those discussions taken place?
No, because I didn't know this was going to be an exhibit today, and I certainly didn't foresee that Mr. Lax would be using this to cross-examine Mr. McCallion.
And Mr. McDowell, does that fairly summarize the...
It is, although, as I say, we've been overtaken to some extent. We know Mr. Vishelli as a shareholder. We know Mr. DePoche is. I'm happy to have the discussion, but
I think at
And
this-
there's no problem with that. That's in the public record, and I don't have, Mr. Bichellian
And all we know now is that Mr. Lax is asking about certain of these people, including Mr. DePoche,
Right.
who we've already heard about.
I have no trouble with that, but there's others on the list, and my concern is about him going through the document as I anticipated was his purpose, for the purpose of determining who all these companies were. And if there is anyone that needs to be asked about that, if that does become a matter of relevance, my client will be testifying and he will be able to answer those questions.
Okay, to be clear, this one has not yet been marked, and we've killed the media switch, so it's not going off into the ether. But maybe Mr. Lax can get
Mr.
around it for the
Lax,
time
if
being.
there has been an undertaking given to discuss...
I wasn't aware of it, of course.
No, but if there were discussions, I think in fairness, those discussions might go on after you, because we're not going to get finished, you're not going to get finished with Mr. McCallion this afternoon. And I'm just wondering...
You can deal with it in the morning. I'll be happy to abide by the outcome, whatever those
Yeah,
discussions
and then perhaps move on to something else now and come back to that if it's determined that that's something that can be done.
And then if I could just move on then to Exhibit 195, which has been discussed already in the evidence. Mr. McCallion, this is the very partial listing of receipts and disbursements during a limited period from September 1st, 2006 to August 21st, 2007. So we don't know what happened before or after.
Okay.
Okay? Excuse me. And so what we do see, as your counsel took you to, if you look at January the 12th, we see the initial deposit from Mr. Couprie of $255,000 on January the 12th, 2006.
That would be 2007?
2007, sorry, yes. And then going down to March the 7th, we see an initial deposit from you of $30,000.
Correct.
And then on March the 16th, we'll come back to this in a moment, but on March the 16th and on March the 30th, we see two checks of $1,000 each going out to you for consulting.
Correct.
I take it that you were to be paid $2,000 a month as a consulting fee.
No.
Well, if we go down to the last entry of June 28th, not having received any fees in the months of April, May, and June, we see a further payment to you of $6,000. It appears that you're catching up for the 3 prior months at $2,000 a month.
That is incorrect.
So is it a pure happenstance then that in March you were paid consulting fees of $2,000 and in June you received $6,000, which just appears to be the equivalent of $2,000 a month?
It appears.
And what was the rationale then for the 2 checks of $1,000, and what was the rationale for the check for $6,000?
I needed living expenses.
And was there a consulting agreement that provided how you were to be paid?
None.
So let me understand, would you just walk into Mr. Couprie and say, I need a check for $6,000?
Basically.
And because you owned 80% of the company, he gave it to you?
No, he had the checks.
And did he ever say no?
No.
And going back then to the listing, on March the 28th, Mr. Couprie puts in a further $100,000 to make his total investment now $355,000.
Correct.
And on April the 5th, a check is cut to Mr. Couprie, but apparently charged to you for $2,310.30. Why were you being charged with expenses that were being actually paid to Couprie?
We were going on a trip, and that was the cost of the trip.
I'm sorry, we were going on a trip, you and Mr. Couprie were going on a trip.
Correct.
Couprie was going to pay for it.
Well, he paid for it from the money that I put into WCD.
You're going to have to take it a little slowly because I didn't understand that answer.
The $2,310.30 was the cost of a trip.
Right? And Kupri paid for it, and you repaid Kupri, and it was charged to your account?
No, the money I'd put into the company, he used to pay for the trip.
Why was it the money that you put into the company? Why wasn't it the money that he put into the company?
Because it was my
He'd
trip.
already put in $355,000 at that stage.
Well, that's got nothing to do with the trip.
I see. And so where is your money then that you talk about, that you put in that's going to be used to pay for the trip?
That's it there.
Where?
The $2,310.30.
No, that's a charge, not a credit.
Well, I didn't put it in
That's a payment going to Mr. Kupri.
to pay for the trip.
Right. And so, did you put in the equivalent amount of money to make the company whole? Where is this money's coming out of the company's bank account? Why was it being charged to your account?
Because I put in $30,000.
I see. All right. On May 24th, you put in another $73,500. You told Mr. Gover that that money came from commissions that were owing to you on the sale of homes from Dezen Realty or Dezen Construction.
Yes.
Let me just understand that question. Realty commissions owing to you are not cash. Did you go and borrow against commissions that were owing to you, or were they paid to you?
They were paid.
So I take it then that there would be a record of a commission payment to you sometime in 2007. There would be at least $73,500 from Dezen Construction.
Correct.
You in turn took that money and paid it over to the company.
Correct.
And then we turn to July the 30th, and you put in $50,000, and that's the money that you borrowed from TACC.
Correct.
Now, July 30th is the day before Mr. Kupri and Landplex, or Mr. Kupri at least, comes into WCD, because if we look at Exhibit 197, there's a shareholders agreement with Kupri on August the 1st, 2007.
Yes.
My question is this. You told us that Mr. Kupri was coming in, I'm sorry, Mr. DeCecco was coming into the company to lead the company and to be a financial resource for the company, correct?
Correct.
Since Mr. DeCecco was expected to be putting in money, why was it that on the day before he comes into the company that you, Peter McCallion, have to go out and borrow $50,000 from TACC?
I wanted to ensure the site plan fee was paid.
But you knew that the next day, DeCecco, a man with significantly greater resources than you, would be joining the company, and he could easily write that check.
I could, but I didn't know how fast it would happen.
Is it possible that the other explanation is that DeCecco said, all right, I'll come in and be your partner, but I want to see you, Peter McCallion, having some skin in this game, and I want to see your investment in this company up by $50,000?
Absolutely not.
Now, when you borrowed the $50,000, or when you guaranteed the debt of world-class developments personally, you knew that you did not have the wherewithal to honor that guarantee if demand was made on it.
Correct.